In this video, I would like to show 5 steps to produce SOAP web service with a Spring Boot. You can download a Spring Boot app from the Spring Initializer by going to the Spring Initializer website, add dependencies. One is web and another one is web service. Then click on generate project, which will download a zip file. It contains a basic getting started guide for the Spring Boot. So I have already downloaded that. So let's go to our steps. And also we need a WSDL4J dependency. I have already deployed this web service to the Heroku. We can even check that in this URL. I have pushed my code to the GitHub. This is the link for that. So while getting into the steps, first step is creating a schema. Here I'm creating a schema for a state with a state ID, name, population, what is the capital of state, and the language speaking in that state. So I have created a basic XSD for states. The next step is generating a domain classes for a schema. So we can even create domain classes manually, but that's not recommended. We have a plugin from a Maven. With that plugin, we can generate our domain classes. So here, if you see, I'm mentioning our resources as a schema directory, and I'm giving output directory to produce under Java. One step we need to identify here is I have given a namespace as pradeep.info/spring and /soapws. While creating a domain from a schema, it will create the same package structures like info.pradeep.spring.soapws. Okay, now we generated domain classes, then creating a repository. A best way of dealing with data in Spring is creating a repository. Here I am creating a dummy data. I am using the same state domain object which I have created in step 2. Some basic values for 2 or 3 states in India. The next step is creating a service endpoint. For a service endpoint, usually we need a request payload and response payload. So whenever service hits this method, it returns a response payload. These request and response payloads we have defined in a XSD. What would be the type of request and what would be the type of response. Then and final step is configuring the web service beans. Here we are configuring 3 beans. One is for listening for a WSDL, another is for actual web service, and another is for returning a XSD schema. So that is the reason I have mentioned 3 beans here. So I'm enabling web service through enable web service, and also I'm mentioning the configuration class through @configuration annotation. See this code, how it runs. I have already downloaded and made all these changes to this project called Spring Boot Producing SOAP WebOS. I'm directly running the Spring Boot app through the plugin. The application is starting now. If you see, Spring Boot application is starting, and it's starting the embedded Tomcat. Tomcat started and listening on 8080 port. So let's go to localhost, and I'm looking for state.wsdl. So this is the WSDL file. We can test this web service, I'm starting SOAP UI to test the web service. Before that, I'm just copying the visitor location. So in SOAP UI, create a new SOAP project, give some name, give the location of visitor file, and also I'm enable this create sample request for all operations. As of now, we have only one operation in visitor. So if you see only one operation, that is the get state. If you look at the request, this is the request XML, and we need to pass ID for a state, and I'm executing the request. If you see the response, it giving the complete state object with ID, name, population, and capital, the language speaking in the state. I'm executing another request. It's giving a state data for Karnataka. Now I'm executing my requests under localhost. In the same way, I have already deployed the same web server to the Heroku app. So I'm copying the visitor from Heroku app. I'm creating a new SOAP project. This time I'm going to give the Heroku app URL. So it's created a request. I'm executing the request with TN now. Yeah, if you see this response, it has the Tamil Nadu state details. I have mentioned endpoint and I have pushed my code to the GitHub, and I'm providing this link in a description. Have a look. Thanks for watching.